Yo guys, what is up? Moxsy here in our Diablo 4 video, and today we're updating my Lightning Storm leveling guide. Now this is going to be for mid-game. This is World Tier 3, World Tier 4. This is basically human Lightning Storm. What do you do? What do you spec? What's the best aspects before you get Tempest Roar? Because obviously everything changes when you get Tempest Roar, but this build can be played without it, particularly if you can get these new gloves. I did get these new gloves last night, the aesthetic wraps. They jumped me up about 20 tiers of nightmare dungeons just instantly on equip. They are really, really strong. And today we're going to be breaking down everything that you should be doing before you get these and once you get these to build the best Lightning Storm build. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get right into it. So one of the big things we need to mention real quick is Spirit Sustain on a human Lightning Storm, because it is harder than on a werewolf Tempest Roar Lightning Storm, because we can't pick up Lust for Carnage. Critical strikes with werewolf skills restores 2 spirit. So because we can't get that, there's 2 things that you're going to want to rush, or that I found really, really helpful, and that is the Ancestral Guidance board, where we get 1 spirit back on kill, 1 spirit back on kill, 2 spirit back on kill. This is 4 spirit back on kill, which we're going to be killing a lot of things. Ancestral Guidance is also pick up for some like early damage multiplier. And I also went and grabbed the Inner Beast board for after shapeshifting, our spirit costs are reduced by 10% for 5 seconds up to 30%. I've currently got Blood Howl and Trample on my bar. I'm actually not using a primary skill or like a resource generator skill. These have been just fine. This is giving me tons of spirit cost. This is giving me spirit back on kill. And then I'm also going to be picking up and using Earth and Might. Earth and Might's really good once you get the new gloves, because Earth and Might guarantees criticals for 5 seconds, which means that we're basically more than doubling our damage as soon as Earth and Might procs, and it accounts for like not having great crit chance early, but it also restores all of our spirit whenever it procs. Obviously, because we're not a Tempest Roar build, because we don't have one, we can't use the Grizzly Rage and reduce our spirit cost while on Grizzly Rage, so spirit cost gets a little bit more difficult, but it is way more than manageable. It's actually quite easy once you get those 3 things: Earth and Might, Ancestral Guidance, Inner Beast. Now let's go over my gear. In my helmet slot, I'm wearing a Godslayer crown. This is actually pretty great. It gives me % damage, it gives me max life, crowd control duration, and cooldown reductions. All things that we like genuinely care on this build. Obviously, if you don't have a Godslayer crown, if you haven't beaten Duriel yet, I actually recommend rocking the aspect, Shared Misery. When you hit a crowd controlled enemy, there's a chance for that crowd control to spread to another enemy. We are going to be doing a lot of increased damage and have a lot of effects on immobilized enemies, and so when your Lightning Storm hits and immobilizes enemies, this spreading more immobilized just gives you more damage. So this is actually a fantastic aspect. And then just look for like armor, life, cooldowns, things like that, maybe some resistances on your helmet, but for now I'm using the Godslayer crown. On my chest piece, once again, you're just looking for some survivability. I've got armor, some resistances, some life, some damage reduction. Obviously, the more damage reduction, life, and armor that you can get, the better. And I've also got the Disobedience aspect on. Now, Disobedience is not going to be necessary this season due to the new Juggernaut aspect. I've got a really crap roll of this. It's basically a min roll on a low item power, but on this ancestral piece, it goes up to 5,900 armor, which is absurd. And with just a little bit of armor in your Paragon board, you will not need Disobedience at all. So it might actually free up a slot for like a Mad Wolf's Glee once we get a Tempest Roar. But for now, I'm rocking Disobedience plus the Juggernaut for just an absurd amount of armor super early on. I've also got a ton of life for my level, which is fantastic. And then we get to your gloves. Now, obviously, the best in slot gloves are the Unsung Aesthetic Wraps. These give you everything that you need: crit chance, Lightning Storm, Defiance, Lucky Hit, extra Lightning Storm procs, and Lightning Storm crits deal more than double damage and send down extra bolts. If you do not have this yet, you're looking for ideally I just need to roll the strength for like crit chance, but like crit chance, lightning crit damage, lucky hit, and ranks of Lightning Storm. And then I would use the aspect that when you hit enemies with your lightning damage, you have a chance to overload them. This helps out pretty significantly with single target damage. It's a really, really nice aspect. Obviously, I'm not using it at the moment because I've got these things. Next up, pants, looking for max life, armor, damage reduction, all good things. And then I've got the Juggernaut aspect. For your boots, I'm currently not. I could grab Ghost Walkers. I don't have them at the moment. I'm actually using the critical strikes grant me increased movement speed for 1 second up to 6 seconds. With Earth and Might, we're doing a ton of crits. So this is pretty good movement speed all the time, and it doesn't have to rely on just trample. So I like this at the moment. And then you're looking for movement speed, spirit cost, and then ideally double resistances. I have not had the resources to reroll the dexterity off of this at the moment, but these are pretty nice as well. And then for your weapon, now, in a perfect world, you've got a one-hander and a totem. That's going to improve your crit chance, your lucky hit chance on the build. But for the time being, I'm using a two-hander with the Shepherd aspect. And this will give you a ton of just pure raw damage. If you're feeling like you're not doing enough damage, the two-hander is a fantastic choice. You're going to want willpower, damage to close, damage to distant, and then probably all stats or like lightning crit or core skill damage is all nice to have, or just crit damage. But damage to distant, damage to close are the two most important things. The reason for that is because they give damage multipliers in the Thunderstruck board. And then the Shepherd aspect is going to give us a damage multiplier for our core skill per each companion. When you pair that with the aspect of the Stampede, that gives me 9 companions. Obviously, I've got a really crap roll of this right now, but it's still giving me a ton of damage. And then on my amulet slot, I've actually got the Lightning Dancers aspect. There's not really anything better to put here. And when we're critting, we're spawning 2 of these, so this is a ton of just raw damage for the build. On your amulet, you're looking for number 1 ranks of Venom, which we'll talk about in a second, spirit cost, movement speed, and then if you can get armor, cooldown, DR, all fantastic things. I got really lucky on this amulet just to drop for me. And then on my rings, I'm using the Earth and Might. Earth and Might is going to give us a ton of quality of life. It is not technically... actually, it might be the highest damage option once you get these gloves. Another really fantastic option is the Ursine Strength for the 25% damage multiplier. Obviously, this is really strong, and once we get better crit chance gear, we can probably invest into this. But I love Earth and Might right now. Perfect Storm, I don't think is worth. Only 1 spirit back. Is just not all that great. It's only per cast. This works a lot better with like things like Tornado than it does with Lightning Storm. But on my gloves, crit chance, crit damage, lightning crit, and max life. And this one's crit chance, lightning crit, damage to close, max life. Obviously, the 2 most important stats, or honestly, the perfect ring is crit chance, lucky hit, close distant. Crit chance, lucky hit, close distant is going to be your god tier ring. Don't have any lucky hit on my rings right now, which is just a bummer because lightning does benefit a ton from lucky hit. And as you can see, I've got a decent bit of attack power, tons of life, and tons of armor for where I'm at right now. Now let's talk about the pet. So the number 1 thing to take away from the pet and how you should be using it, at least in my opinion, is just getting poison support. Getting poison support currently allows me to poison targets. As you'll see, as soon as he gets hit by this Tempest attack, the target is poisoned. And in my testing, it looks like we do get Envenom off of the target being poisoned from our companion, which is fantastic. Obviously, a big downside of not having a Tempest Roar is we don't have free access to poison on all things. So getting poison support on your companion is actually just like a massive damage increase. So that is really, really great. On the rest of the companion, I'm using the Tempest skill. This does a decent bit of damage. I found this to be best so far. I'm using it with arcing support so I can hit more enemies, efficiency support so I get more crit chance, and poison so I get more poison. And once again, even though this is only hitting 1 enemy, or technically 2 enemies, that poison has a chance to spread to nearby enemies. So it works out that this does a decent bit of poison. Obviously, if you don't have Tempest, you can use another skill that hits more enemies. And then I've got the Flash of Adrenaline. This is going to give me a damage multiplier every once in a while, which is nice. I've got tactical support so that I've got more cooldown on this skill, fortify support so that it gives me a bit of fortify, and also duration support so that this damage multiplier lasts longer. Just some nice quality of life here. For our Spirit Boons, we're going to be rocking Scythe Talons for more crit chance and Avian Wrath for more crit damage. If you're feeling squishy, you can grab Iron Feather for more max life. This currently, if I grab this, puts me at 17k max life at level 87, which is kind of ridiculous. So if you're feeling squishy, you can definitely go for Iron Feather. For a little bit more damage, you're going to want Scythe Talons, going to be totally up to you. Wariness, reduced damage from elites. Pack Leader, we really want Poison Creeper to get reset, and we're going to be resetting it quite a bit. The reason we want Poison Creeper to get reset is because it's free cooldown, or sorry, free immobilize for us, and poison in a large area. It's just nice to have. If you're having spirit issues, you can go for energize. If you're having survivability issues, you can go for bolster. But I do think pack leader is the best option here. And then overload is really the only thing that we can really benefit from here. Lightning's not a shapeshifting skill. We're not using an ultimate. Overload is going to give us even more damage for our lightning abilities. For our skill tree, I'm not using a basic attack. I'm not having any issues with spirit. If you are having issues with spirit, I'd recommend wind shear because you can use it from ranged. Then we're going to be going lightning storm. I really think it's important to go primal lightning storm for the immobilized chance. We've got so much damage synergies with enemies being immobilized that even though this is less additional lightning strikes, I think this might play out better in terms of sustain and in terms of just damage. So I'm going for the immobilize. Then we've got wild impulses. This gives us a damage multiplier for our lightning storm. If you're having spirit issues, you don't need to take this. Predatory instinct for more crit chance when things are close to us. I've got blood howl to generate spirit. Attack speed doesn't benefit this build. Bunch of damage reduction whenever we're using this. More resistances are key. I found the wolves and putting points into them just did not be worth. If I had retaliation on this build, I'd probably go for the ferocious wolf pack. I don't have retaliation at the moment because I'm using a two-hander. If I was using a one-hander, I would go for retaliation. Just don't have the aspect space right now. For poison creeper, if you don't have poison support, I'd recommend going ferocious poison creeper so that you can get more poison uptime. Once you do have poison support, you can go for brutal poison creeper for the crit chance, and then you're going to want ravens for the 2 additional ravens. Once again, every additional raven that we're getting is another, at the moment, 14% damage multiplier for our lightning storm. At max rank, it'll be 20% increased damage per raven. So this is really important to grab. Then we're going up in the lightning tree, grabbing electric shock. Once again, this gives me a chance to immobilize, but if things are already immobilized, I deal 21% multiplicative damage increase against them with all of my lightning damage, which is fantastic. Bad Omen gives us a lucky hit chance to proc lightning bolts, which is also really nice. I've got Trample, with Trample giving me 40 spirit. Then we're going down, grabbing Envenom. Critical Strikes with Werewolf Skills. Toxic Claws doesn't do anything for us at the moment. Then we're grabbing Circle of Life to give us healing. Defiance to give us more damage against elites with our Lightning Storm. Natural Disasters gives us increased damage, 12% increased damage to those stunned, immobilized, or knocked back. We're going to be immobilizing enemies all the time. Remember that now we've got a 12% damage multiplier against immobilize, plus a 21% damage multiplier against immobilize. That's why I think the immobilize just pays off with Primal Lightning Storm. And then if you wanted to, you could get rid of Trample here and go for Petrify. Petrify is going to give you more bossing damage, and it's going to give you Spirit Sustain in packs. And I liked Petrify. For prolonged boss fights, I do think you kind of need something like Trample if you're going to fight like Duriel or your basic skill. But I was messing around with Petrify, and it felt pretty great as an opposed to Trample. You just got to be okay with like not having a source of Unstoppable, which I know some people won't like. So I went Trample. It's more resource gen, and it's a source of Unstoppable, which is really nice. And then Earth and Might. For the Paragon board, my board is going to be a bit different because I've been able to respec it into Lightning so that I was okay with not grabbing Ancestral Guidance as like the very first thing because I could just respec to it. But over on Max Roll, I do have my full written Lightning Storm Druid endgame build guide, which I am the guide writer for, and this is going to be packed full of information, as well as a human Lightning Storm leveling Paragon board that I put out last night. So this is going to have a step-by-step walkthrough of grabbing Fulminate first for the lightning damage, rushing for the Ancestral Guidance and the Spirit Nodes. There should be 1 point spent there for an extra Spirit on kill. I will fix that after this video. Just grabbing Electrocution for the 20% damage multiplier. Super easy extra damage there. Then working our way into the Thunderstruck board where we're going to slot Territorial. Territorial is going to give us that damage to close, which is going to give us an increased damage multiplier with the Thunderstruck board, as well as picking up a bunch of crit. Then we can come over here to the Constrictals Tendering board. where we're gonna socket Earth and Sky. Once you get Earth and Sky leveled, this is gonna give you a ton of extra health and a ton of extra damage, as well as the free damage multiplier to crowd controlled or vulnerable enemies. We can also grab Devastation in all of these nodes, which is a bunch more damage to elites, which obviously Lightning Storm has a bit of difficulties with. Then we come down to the Inner Beast board, where we're grabbing a ton of more crit damage, as well as more max life armor, more armor here. And I did socket the exploit glyph here. I'll probably change this for Spirit once I get some more lucky hit. So Spirit will help us scale our crit. But exploit pretty early is like relatively nice to have because vulnerable enemies will have a 20% damage multiplier on them. And then obviously this isn't fully built out, that you'll have all your glyphs like fully leveled. So a lot of the glyphs in here, like Territorial's level 5, Earth and Sky's level 5. So once you get to the end, there's the respec board, which is going to be the more optimal version once you have all of your glyphs 21 and you've got a Tempest Roar and so on and so forth. But yeah, that is going to do it for the build guide. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you guys are having a good season, and I wish you the best of luck getting that Tempest Roar because it will make this build even better. But I'm honestly pretty surprised at just how strong the build is without a Tempest Roar. I'll catch you all in the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.